On the day Queen Elizabeth was laid to rest, memories from her visits from across the globe are keeping her memory alive. Matthew Barzun is a Louisville resident and former U.S. ambassador to the United Kingdom. You spoke with the Queen on several occasions, actually stayed, you said, at Windsor Castle overnight, getting to have an intimate dinner. What was your expectations that first time you got to meet her, and then what was it really like?
Well, I was nervous.
Yeah.
As an American, it's odd you have to wear a top hat and it's wonderful, but strange. You get to take, my wife Brooke and I got taken to Buckingham Palace in a horse-drawn carriage, so it's all kind of surreal. And as we walked in, people didn't know who we were, so all those thousands of tourists are always there and they're snapping pictures. And when I got in, mercifully, you're allowed to take off your top hat, and then had what was a very lovely and warm meeting with Her Majesty. And in the course of that, I said, I asked about all the pictures and what it was like for her. And she said, you know what, they've always taken pictures, but in the old days, they'd take it up and like a 35mm and put it down. She said, but these days, and she pulled up her white gloved hands and stuck it over her face. She said, these days they put up those rectangles and they never take them down. And then she said, I miss seeing their eyes.
Yeah.
And I thought that was such a wonderful moment that we might think it's a one-way thing. We snapped the picture and she is snapped, but she saw and missed a connection.
And that's one of the true conversations that you'll probably remember from her, is that she wasn't just all about the pomp and circumstance. She wanted to see the people.
Exactly.
Yeah. She was in Kentucky. You were very close, not only with her, but a lot of the members of the royal family, now King Charles. Do you feel like we're going to be able to bring him back to Kentucky at some point?
Well, he loved his visit to Kentucky in general, and Louisville specifically. It was back in 2015, I think it was. My mother-in-law, Christy Brown, organized a action-packed day for him and Queen Consort Camilla, and they learned a lot from this wonderful, diverse group of Louisvillians who showed up. This great constellation of leaders from agriculture, business, culture, farming, healthcare, you name it. And so he learned a lot. He was inspired. And one thing I saw that day was he gave prepared remarks and he gave impromptu remarks, but he's also, which I think will serve him well in this new role, a very good listener.
Yeah.
And he was just taking it all in from these very different voices across our Commonwealth.
It'll be a completely different ruler, after 70 years of Queen Elizabeth. A lot of people aren't sure if they're going to admire him and think of him the same way.
Well, that's right. And I just got back from London, and one of the British commentators put it this way, that over her 7 decades, she was involved with a rolling renegotiation of what it meant. And I think that's kind of a powerful force. And my late father-in-law taught me a great lesson that I think applies, and he made whiskey. And he said, here is a person or a leader, and here is public opinion. And so if you never change, the public does grow, and then you appear out of sync. If you get too far out ahead of the public, you're also out of sync. So the art of it is how, as public opinion moves, kind of like the hour hand of a clock, you move with it, but almost imperceptibly. And Her Majesty did a great job of that in her way, and I think he will continue that in his way.
Matthew, thank you so much for joining us here on The Four. We hope to have you back again, and hopefully you bring the king along to Louisville one day.
Wouldn't that be wonderful? Thanks for having me.